Welcome. It is Cooper, who's an All-American. Pretty awesome. It's the Vol Report with Cooper Mays, brought to you by City Heating and Air Conditioning. What skill position player is standing out and has caught Cooper's eye? Also, why Cooper, if he needed to, could probably go to Omaha and help out the Vols. Maybe. He is Cooper Mays. I'm Dave Hooker. Hit that like and subscribe button for weekly visits with Coop. And as we get into the season, boy, this is going to be one of my favorite 20 minutes of the week. So, Coop, thanks for joining us. Congratulations. Phil still named you an All-American. And here are my thoughts. AP and coaches are probably the best, which I think you got a great shot there too. But I got a lot of respect for Phil Steele in terms of among journalists. So I think that's a major notch on your belt. What'd you think?
Yeah, no doubt. Anytime you get recognition like that, kind of no matter who it is or what it is, it's a big deal, and it's really good to get your name kind of out in the scheme of that kind of thing. So I was happy with it.
Yeah, no, it was pretty cool. How did you hear about it? The first All American designation.
Um, Man, I think I just saw it on Twitter. I think I just started getting notifications on my social media and pulled it up, and that was what it was. So
Gotcha. Well, and the cool part about it is with Phil, and I know Phil, he's going to factor into his ratings your physical ability, right? And what you've done on the field. That's him. Doesn't even take into account your leadership. So, given the fact that a lot of people called you undersized, I just would think it would be incredibly rewarding to be able to have that All American status because he's basing it just off you, not as a leader, which we know you're great at, but just off you as a physical player.
no doubt, no doubt, really a big, it's a really big deal. I don't get super excited about a lot, but it's a huge deal. It really is.
So I'm busy with Cole Kubalik. Do you know who that is?
Yes.
Okay. So we had Cole
Yes.
on the show recently, and just, he usually talks about linemen, right? Because he played a center for Auburn.
Right.
And those that don't know, SEC Network, he does the sideline reporting. And the guy that he said, this guy's for real, wasn't a lineman. He picked out Chris Brazel, who is the transfer that he has seen briefly because I'm sure that Tennessee provides him with practice tape because he's with ESPN or at least some. But he thinks that guy's for real. What's been your impression of Chris Brazel?
I would say that's an accurate description. I obviously I don't know much about wide receivers or how any of that kind of goes about or anything, but I know he's crazy athletic and a huge target for a quarterback. So I'd say he'd be a quarterback's best friend if it were me.
Yeah, I would definitely think so. And he comes in here as a transfer. And now you've seen a couple of years of transfers coming in since that rule went into effect. What's the key to being, and your brother went through it too. What's the key to being a good transfer and becoming a part of the team as soon as possible?
I think it takes a kind of a mature kid, you know. I mean, to come in anywhere and make an immediate impact anywhere, you got to be really mature, pretty decently smart, able to get the playbook down and kind of master it in under a year. So that's kind of one side of it. And then second of all, you got to be really good. If you're transferring to a place in the SEC, no matter where you're going, you got to be a really good player if you want to step in and make an immediate impact right then. So I think it's big props to whoever can come and do that.
I remember talking to Jacob, and he was talking about. Oh, I'm sorry, it's escaping my mind. The tight end transferred to McCown Castles. So
Yes.
he was just talking about, and Jacob was talking about. Castles was blown away by the fact that they had a cafeteria 24/7. That he had a cook for himself. What's the response you get from players that come from a place like Tulane and get treated like they do at Tennessee?
Yeah, I'm not sure about Tulane. Tulane might kind of have it going on, but
Well, that's true.
you know,
UC, let's turn it to you. Was he UC
it was
Davis?
UC Davis is where he was from. So
Right.
his was definitely a huge step up. I mean, I think the biggest sign of it was I think he gained like Man, I think he gained like 20 or 30 pounds within like a semester, and it was mostly muscle. So that kind of tells you what it does for a kid. And obviously he was looking for that at UC Davis or whatever, but they weren't having it. If you can go somewhere and put on 30 pounds immediately in their new strength, that's got strength and conditioning, and then you add in the cafeteria, I mean, he needed that for sure.
How important is the strength and conditioning program and the strength and conditioning coach? Because you've transformed your body underneath this crew. So I want to get to that. Remind everybody the Vol Report with Cooper Mays is brought to you by City Heating and Air Conditioning, cityheatandair.com. Integrity matters over 50 years in Tennessee. There are fly by night companies that are going to show up and say, you need a whole new unit for thousands of dollars. Maybe not. You just need Freon, or you might just need a part and they'll take care of you. City Heating and Air Conditioning, City Heat and Air. So, Coop, when you look at the transition that these guys have to make, you want to be appreciative, but you also don't want to be in awe. Have you seen players come in and be like, "Whoa, this Neyland Stadium thing's a lot larger than that other stadium I was playing at"?
I've seen players like that. It usually doesn't usually comes from like hometown kids though, I mean, when you kind of grow up around UT football and you just wanted to play there your whole life, and then you finally get there, you're kind of in awe. But I mean, most kids come, and especially nowadays, how college football is. I mean, it's most kids realize it's a business, and people kind of grown up and matured and realize that it's a business. And a lot of kids treat it as kind of a means to an end. So a lot of kids don't get in awe about the facilities, the facilities and kind of all that stuff that used to be big time in recruiting. A lot of kids don't really, necessarily put that at the forefront of their wants and needs from a school. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and that's interesting because that was a big deal 10, 20 years ago, maybe even when you were recruited to some extent.
Mhm.
But uh, what is it nowadays? Playing time and NIL, is it pretty simple?
Um, that would be a big majority of it. I mean, it's just I don't know. I mean, I feel like every year after year, and kind of as the generations keep going and going, we kind of get more focused on results rather than the process of it. You know what I'm saying? So that's, I guess, what more people are looking at. Just any type of results they're going to get from it. The ends. I don't know.
No, the process
Different.
is the key. You've reminded me of that on a couple of different occasions. So an old dog can learn new tricks. So I was asking you about strength and conditioning coaches and coach and how important those guys are. You mentioned
Oh
McCall
man.
and Castles put on 20, 30 pounds in an off season. How important are those guys? Because a lot of times they're your main contact, right?
Well, yeah. When you're getting recruited, a lot of people think about the head coach, but I thought, for me personally, this is because I had a dad and a brother that had already gone through it. I mean, you kind of look at the, you really mostly are going to be with your O line coach, and then more than that, you're going to be with your strength and conditioning every day. So that's kind of who I looked at a lot, and it's huge. You got to enjoy who you're around, and that's who you'll be around 90% of the time is your strength coach and your O line coach, and your O line coach is the little assistants in there. So I mean, yeah, it's huge. If you don't have a good strength and conditioning program, you're not going to be a very successful team.
Now, well, let me ask you this: when there was a coaching transition and that position changed, that you had based your initial decision to come to Tennessee off of, was there a concern about who Tennessee might hire in that regard?
I mean, there's always a concern, but I mean, you can't really do anything about it. I mean, you're kind of just in for whatever they choose. So, I mean, I knew I wasn't going to leave. I'd kind of gotten to a point where I was comfortable here and knew I was going to start that next year after the coaching change did occur. So, I don't know. I mean, there was definitely anxiety. You don't want somebody to come in here that you just hated, but you knew you knew that they were going to make a pretty good choice. I mean, we're not a school that takes stuff like that very lightly. So, it was good. It ended up being good for us.
Yeah, I love talking to you because I feel like you give this a big perspective, and you're a Tennessee guy, and here is Tennessee in the College World Series. So, how much chatter is on campus, is among your circles about what the Vols can do in Omaha, Nebraska?
Oh man, I think it's huge. I think it's the buzz of the town right now. I haven't seen, obviously, what has it been since 1952, I think, since we've been to
Mhm.
the championship game. We've always been, I always tell people that it's been like kind of the more underrated experiences of my college experience is our baseball being so good. You know what I'm saying? Really all sports at Tennessee are doing really, really good right now. So shout out to everybody. But I mean, baseball's been next level every single year. So it's been really cool to watch. I'm not a guy that watches baseball, but I watch Tennessee about every time they play.
How do you think that might help in recruiting to and I know they were out in Omaha for this past recruiting weekend, but there are going to be a lot of times where they're at home and prospects are going to be in town. They're going to see the excitement of that. How much might that help recruiting in all sports?
Uh, Probably not too much. I mean, taking them on recruiting visits and letting them sit there. I mean, it was pretty cool when I was getting recruited for football. We went and watched Admiral Schofield and Grant Williams play against Florida or Kentucky. Either one, I don't remember which one, but it was a huge game, super electric. I mean, in that regard, like, yeah, you love the energy and everything, but people are coming here to play football, so kind of like a back and forth kind of thing. You
Yeah.
can show a little bit, but it's not gonna sways anybody's opinion.
It's like the breath mint at the end of the meal. Nobody says, I have got to go back to that restaurant because of those breath mints.
Bingo. That's kind of right on point, actually.
He is Cooper Mays. I'm Dave Hooker. The Vol Report with Coop is brought to you by City Heating and Air Conditioning. City Heat and Air. I was having a conversation with someone within the program, and I said, you're headed into summer, and there's more free time that's out there, at least theoretically. I know that Josh Heupel keeps you guys pretty busy, but I was talking to him. I said, this program in the recent history has not had a lot of off-field issues, and you haven't. What do you attribute that to?
I would attribute it. I'll probably attribute it to. That's a good question. Probably just, probably just the type of guys that Hypo recruits and brings in here. I think he kind of tries to find people that are more like-minded and to what he likes, how he likes to handle things. So I think they dive deep into that, and that pays big dividends. But I'm not really sure. I mean, we're like you said, we're really busy, and when you got a good kid, get a good group of kids, it's kind of easy to stay out of trouble. I mean, there's not much trouble to get into in Knoxville, thankfully, but
Well,
um,
maybe not. I won't tell you about how to get into trouble in Knoxville. How about
yeah,
that?
no, don't let me know.
Your dad would kill me. Your dad would absolutely kill me. I think part of it too are some. I think there are some achievements, perhaps, if that's the word you would call it. Now you know what your jersey number is going to be, but I was told that based off of how you perform in the classroom and perform as far as class attendance, you get an early selection on your jersey numbers. How much does stuff like that help?
Yeah, I mean, I think it helps a lot for people actually because a lot of people end up caring about stuff like that. But um, yeah, I think there's like kind of what you said. Like I think the amount of misses you have a semester, which is like meals, nutrition, like meals, school, like any type of appointments with tutoring, your actual classes, workouts, meetings, like all of that. We all check every single one of those things. So
Who has
basically
the
based off
best?
of
Who has the best attendance of anybody on the team?
I don't know about like cumulative.
It's
They
you.
bring up lists. No, it's not me. I think I've missed like my whole time here. I think I've never missed anything, but I've been late in the last like 4 years. I've been late like twice, maybe once or twice.
That's pretty incredible. I've been late with appointments with you more times than that.
Yeah, well, I don't. We don't have any discipline that's sitting on the other end of it. So I don't know, dude. If you're late to football, like especially like a meeting, oh man. I mean
Well,
it'll ruin your whole week, or it should, if you care about this stuff. But
so how does that work? You come in late to a meeting, do you get called out? Is there punishment? How does that work?
yeah, I mean you get called out. You definitely get called out. I mean, it's just that's how it goes.
So yeah.
Usually, I mean, if you're a guy that doesn't like, I haven't been late in like 2 years, but like, if you're a guy that ends up showing up late and hasn't been late in 2 years, most people are just happy to see that you're alive, like, because real deal, like, there's people that you expect to be in every meeting 10 minutes early every time. And when they're not there, like, you look at it and you're like, damn, he must be like in the ditch somewhere. Like, there's no way he's late. Cause like, that's how much faith you built up in him. Like, I remember Dane Davis was late one time and I don't think he's ever been late, missed anything other than this one time. I think it was just this one time I think he's ever been late. And he was like 10 minutes late. And like, we were looking around and they were like, is everybody here? And I was like, oh yeah, everybody's here. And everybody's like, yeah, everybody's here. And we like kind of start the meeting and we look back and we're like, wait, Dane's not there. Cause like Dane is always there. And we were just happy that he wasn't dead, is what we kind of came up with. He was super upset with himself, but everybody was like, dude, you're good.
Suck it out. Suck it out.
Like
You're good.
you've been here 4 years and haven't been late. It'll be okay, you know.
I'm going to
But
try to begin right now on a 4-year streak of not being late. Coop, I know you got workouts to get to. We appreciate the time as always. It's brought to you by City Heating and Air Conditioning. He's Cooper Mays. I'm Dave Hooker. This has been a presentation of Off the Hooks.